Hey, what's up? What's going on out there? I'm about to check out this video with Jason Whitlock. He's going to be talking about NFL.com writer Jim Trotter, saying it's a double standard with Nick Bosa wearing a MAGA hat and Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. Well, I'm going to check the video out and see what Whitlock is talking about.
An failure to take some sort of action would suggest the presence of a double standard and raise the question of whether the league is more comfortable with a white player using its national spotlight to endorse a presidential candidate than it is with black players demonstrating against systemic racism. He enters things in as facts that aren't facts. He's demonstrating against systemic racism. There's not 100% agreement that there is systemic racism. There's not. I know Jim Trotter and his group.
Well, I'm going to say this. We all know, well, people with half a brain cell know that so-called black people have been discriminated in this country and face certain prejudice things in this country for years. Probably in the last 50 years, it's become more covert than overt. But before that, it was both overt and covert. I mean, you might be dealing with some covert moments here and there, but now systemic racism, in my opinion, is kind of fading a little bit. It might be some remnant of that in, the criminal justice system, something at your job or something like that, especially like corporate stuff. But as far as like at that particular like being at its peak, I'm going to say no. But it's still traces here and there. Things might pop up, but to say that it's at a certain degree, I would agree with Whitlock. I don't. It's not like it was back in the day.
All said, there's systemic racism, and that's a fact. Well, there's other people say, nah, there isn't systemic racism. There's something called sin. It's in the Bible. It's a foundational fact and truth. Sin. Jim and his...
This what Whitlock killed. Like I don't know. He just throws me off really. Sometimes he'll hit something out the park. Sometimes he'll be swinging, missing at the plate. Whitlock won't even know sin if it smacked him in the face. I guarantee you 98.9% of Christians so-called Christians don't know what sin is. And Whitlock proclaims himself to be a so-called Christian. He doesn't even know what sin is. If he knew what sin was, he wouldn't be a glutton, and he would keep his facial hair. He wouldn't shave the sides of his beard and things, shave the side of his head and things like that, like little stuff like that. If you're trying to figure out what sin is, anybody out there, open up the good book and go to 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. That's going to tell you what sin is. Sin is breaking the law of the Most High. And the good men and the good women out there know what that is. But Whitlock keeps getting on this whole soapbox about sin and things with so-called Christian values and stuff like that. And he's just way off.
Group, systemic racism. Now, there's not universal agreement. Like, everybody pretty much agrees today is Wednesday. That's a fact. It's an opinion that Colin Kaepernick was protesting against systemic racism. Colin Kaepernick, in my opinion, was throwing a tantrum because he lost his job to Blaine Gabbert. There is no equivalence between what Nick Bosa did.
I'm going to stop him there again. I kind of agree with him. I thought that Colin Kaepernick, he wore that stuff like the Afro, the Muhammad Ali shirt, like a Halloween costume, like a confused, quote-unquote, so-called Marxist guy or something like that, a super socialist guy. Like, he didn't know how deep into the water he was getting. Like, when he first started out, I believe he was talking about, young so-called black people, getting deleted by the police and certain situations going on, and how he said it wasn't right. which he was right. He was right to stand up and say something. He has every right to do that. But then it became something. It just morphed into uh, this Black Lives Matter stuff with the whole LGBTQ, whatever them people want to be called now, XYZ chromosome, all them people. It morphed into something where it became a voice for those people when it was supposed to be something that was focused on so-called black men, but it morphed and it changed into something else. I remember Kaepernick did a Nike commercial and it had all these other people in the commercial talking about social injustice for them and all this type of stuff. And I'm like, it steered away from the original message. That's one thing I think a lot of people just didn't pick up on.
Wearing a hat in support of a presidential candidate and a guy taking a knee during the national anthem to allegedly complain that somebody, Michael Brown or somebody, Trayvon Martin, I don't know, someone got killed. And it's the police's fault, it's America's fault because some resisting black criminal got killed.
Well, I'm going to stop him there again. Like, that's why I said Whitlock, some of this stuff, he just goes off on a tangent. It's like he wants to get a pat on the head and get a biscuit or something. Like, he's talking about Trayvon White dealing with his situation. Like, anybody familiar with that case know the dude was the individual that, you know, killed that young man was basically stalking him and killed him. Michael Brown, that's a situation that's up in the air. Police get involved. I don't trust police 100% anyway. Because honestly, if a lot of that video cam body footage wasn't out, a lot of stuff they would be getting away with. And then a lot of people out there that interact with the police, I don't believe them either. So, but with those situations, he's not being really sensitive, you know, to those situations. Like, he could have just said, look, he was protesting these certain situations and just kept it on him and kept it on Kaepernick and threw it on himself with that. Whitlock was it looked like he was trying to, I don't know, get a little biscuit and a pat on the head. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Those are opinions, not facts. And so Jim's writing this about, well, God, everybody knows he was fighting systemic racism. First of all, there's people that don't believe in systemic racism. And two, there are people like me that don't believe that Colin Kaepernick was doing anything but throwing a tantrum and drawing attention to himself and calling the NFL I lost my starting quarterback job. They're racist. Guess who else is doing that? Jim Trotter. I lost my job at the NFL Network. They're racist.
Inflation is nothing more than a...
I'm going to stop the video right there. Whitlock has some interesting commentary. Like I said earlier, like either he hits it out the park or he totally, whiffs at the bat. But, that's my commentary on the situation. You leave your 1-2. Let me know what you all think.